Welcome to today's episode of Happy to Help with Kirsten, one of our West Fargo Public Library at-home programs. The goal of this video series is to help identify a few really helpful resources and keep you all learning and thriving at home. Jackie from the West Fargo Historical Center has joined us. Do you want to tell the patrons just a little bit about you and your background, Jackie?
Sure. Basically, I have been a genealogist since about 1982, and in the early days, I shared duties with my mother. She worked on her lines, and I worked on my father's lines, and we'd get together once a month and share. And it was really a great time. But since my mother has passed on, now I'm working on both sides of the family. With the internet age, I'm knocking down a lot of those brick walls that I had before on certain people and certain kinds of situations and stuff. So makes it interesting. The West Fargo Public Library is the home of the West Fargo Historical Center. The Historical Center itself, we've got different staff in the library. I work on Saturdays, and basically my task on Saturdays is to help anybody who comes in with a genealogical question.
What goes into your genealogy sessions that you host?
I more or less just took my cues from the people that come in with the questions, and then so if they need help with how to go about doing their research, or what product they might want to use that's better than others, or what record they should be looking at, I answer those kinds of questions. Other people come in and they want somebody to actually look stuff up for them, and so I just take my cues from the patron. So whatever they want, I try to get for them.
Absolutely. Today, we'll be talking about how to get started with your family's genealogy using Ancestry.com. Ancestry is a tool that you have access to within the West Fargo Public Library with your library card, and typically only when you're in the library. But because of the COVID-19 outbreak, Ancestry has opened up their site for library card holders to access while in the comfort of their own homes. And we've included some login information after the video for you to get started with that. If you don't have a West Fargo Public Library card, you can still get one through our e-card sign-up application. So if I'm new to Ancestry, what do I need to get started?
Well, first of all, the one tool that you will probably never exhaust is your curiosity. You got to have that fully engaged. And then Ancestry itself is pretty easy to use if you want to go ahead and try it. There's the opening window. And one thing that I will tell you this as somebody who's used a lot of the search engines and stuff that are available, either through Ancestry or other places, sometimes the less information you put in, the better off you will be with your end results. But you just kind of put in your stuff and you try to see what's going to work, and you take things out if it doesn't seem to be getting you the result that you want. And I know that sounds kind of a little bit peculiar, but the one thing you should do is arm yourself with information about your family before you go in. The reason for that is, okay, like the name John Smith, very common. Which John Smith are you talking about, you know? So you have to have some of those basic pieces of information. And generally, most people, you probably will want to start with like your grandparents. You might have some curiosity about what parts of your grandparents' life. And most Americans do know at least their grandparents' names in order to be able to work out getting more information from Ancestry and the other search databases. but you can, so it's kind of like you're inventorying what's going to, and you have this little inventory sheet. And Ancestry Library Edition does have something that will help you with that. On the opening page, there's a black taskbar at the top of the page that says charts and forms. I suggest that you try the old-fashioned method first. You print out a family group record or a pedigree record, and then fill in pencil some basic information on the people that you are that you are looking for. There's a lot of different reasons to do it that way. If you're still one of those people that are used to doing this, and only want to do that, I'd say try to understand, because the centuries of records that you're going to be looking at are people that were doing handwriting. So it would be useful for you to get a little practice in, but and then also interpreting it. But so you've got the basic information. Most of those sheets are the family group records and family group sheets. They call them a little bit different names on different sites, but basically it's the vital information, the hatches, matches, dispatches of a couple, and the same information on their children. So the what, where, when, and not so much the why, but you're just trying to get a structure going. So you arm yourself with that information first, and then you're fully capable of looking at the Ancestry findings and working it out from there.
Gotcha. So start with my parents, then maybe go to my grandparents, just get the names,
exactly,
names, and then go from there.
Yeah,
and start to build that up.
That's right. You start with what you know to go to what you don't know and that you want to know.
I like it. Cool. Do you have some maybe just thoughts or tips that you'd want to share with our patrons? So if it's either Ancestry or the other resources you might use in the Historical Center?
Well, here's one dirty little secret. Ancestry and even Family Search, which is the major free search page, they don't always have their databases hooked up to the first search engine. So sometimes you got to dig around a little bit to find everything that's available. That's one thing. When you're looking at a web page, scroll down, because there's almost always really cool things underneath. Most of the web pages today are designed in such a way that there's more than one or two ways to get to the information. And so it's sometimes helpful for you to see all of that. So scroll down.
I think we trained ourselves like, oh, you search one thing, and if it's not on the front page, you're not going to those secondary, third pages, but dig a little deeper.
Right. And as good as their algorithms are, you still have to engage as a human being, and you look at this listing that they display on the screen, and you're like, yeah, that guy's the right one, but those other 6 ones that have the same name and kind of similar bio aren't the right one. So that's still what you have to do. You still have to kind of look at it. But they do have some services in Ancestry. There's that list of suggested records. If you are looking at somebody and they say, oh, we saw that you looked at this record, maybe you should be looking at this record, because it looks like it's the same person. And that does speed up some of the research that used to take you, back in the days when I started, a lot longer time to work out.
Sure. Cool. Well, do you have anything else you want to add for our patrons?
We're going through a really tough time right now. I always get a big sense of calm, it helps my universe, because I know that my ancestors went through similar situations, equally difficult,
right.
And somehow they, as individuals, maybe didn't survive, but the families survived. And through the centuries, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Right, exactly.
So I must have had ancestors that survived the bubonic plague in Norway.
Yeah.
I'm glad that somebody did.
Yeah.
But they're here, so they did their lives so that I could be here as well. So I find that a very calming sort of thing in situations like this.
And there's chaos around knowing that you can persevere.
Exactly. It's all been done before. Somebody else has survived so that I can be here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time, Jackie. This is all we have for our helpful hints for today. Thanks for watching Happy to Help and tuning into West Fargo Public Library at Home Programming. Talk to you soon.